Good morning, coaches. Today I'm going to talk about some different ways we can approach finishing activities. When we think finishing, we're thinking that final third. We're wanting our players to have good ideas and ways in which they can score, ultimately. A very typical kind of finishing session could look something like this. You have your goalkeeper, you have a couple of lines, and you have, let's say this line starts with the ball and passes out wide, and this player receives, makes a run in, this player makes that far post run, this player makes that near post run, ball is crossed in, finish. Very kind of basic session idea that is what we typically see when we think finishing session activity. Are there ways in which we can look at finishing from a more alive standpoint? So the 3 session ideas today that I'm going to share about finishing and making those finishing sessions come alive: chaos in the box, flying changes, and a game slice. So first up, chaos in the box. Just as it sounds, it is going to be a little bit chaotic, but that chaos is going to bring with it an alive movement problem. You're going to have direction, dimension that you wouldn't typically get with basic finishing activity, and you're going to have opponents as well. Now, this works best if you have a couple of goalkeepers and a couple of big goals, but if not, you can still stay with the one big goal, and instead of using a second big goal, you can replace with 2 or 3 small goals along this line, which is something that we do with our sessions when we only have one goalkeeper. But basically, you have your same number of players. Let's say you have 12. You place 4 as neutrals around the outside. Let's get rid of these guys right here. You place 4 as neutrals along the outside. You have your crossers and you have your cutbacks. In the middle, you have 2 teams, and they are playing 4v4. Now you can do this and make it really chaotic where both teams can attack both goals. So let's say orange has the ball, they pass out wide to this person. This neutral can cross to whichever side is best. And those same kinds of things that we're looking for in that basic pattern finishing exercise, but this time it's alive. This person with the ball looking to cross is going to have to think to themselves, what is the best option relative to where the opponents are, relative to where my teammates are. Similarly, let's say yellow wins the ball, they pass out to a cutback. In the same fashion, our players are going to have to think, what are the best runs that I have to make in order to meet the ball to finish successfully? And these alive movement problems created by chaos in the box are going to most likely transfer, and you're going to get more realistic game finishing opportunities. And so for something like this, I would probably keep it open. I might add a no-go zone to kind of protect the keepers if you think that's necessary, or maybe a one-touch finish zone, and play to 3, play to 5, and then rotate out. You could also add in some incentives. If you finish with a header from a cross, it's worth 2. If you finish from a one-touch cutback, it's worth 2. You can manipulate the variables to kind of create those more incentivized situational outcomes that you're looking for. So, chaos in the box. Next up, flying changes. This is one I really like to use pretty often because it does a couple of things. Flying changes really increases the likelihood of getting lots of shots for the keepers very quickly, and it is high intensity. So we can still use the same basic idea with our 2 teams, and we can add neutrals. You could even add neutrals as cutback players out here. Don't really have to. Typically, we'll use the 2 on the side, and that's it. But basically, this player would start with the ball. Coach says 3, 2, 1, go. These 2 players enter the grid, attacking this goal. These 2 enter to defend. As soon as yellow takes a shot and the ball crosses the end line, whether it's a goal or not, the opposing 2 orange in the middle exit the grid, and the next 2 enter with a ball, immediately attacking this goal, whereupon these 2 who just shot immediately become defenders and have to transition. Subsequent, these 2 attack. Let's say this person shoots, the ball goes out. These 2 come off, reset into their lines, and the next 2 yellow enter to attack. So it's very quick, very high paced, and with the neutrals on the outside, you can incentivize those same kinds of finishing incentives. So, a regular shot would be worth a point, but if you can play it wide to a neutral and they can cross and you can finish, you can incentivize that to be worth 2 or 3. Typically, we'll play a game to 5 and then rotate neutrals. One question you might ask is what happens if the ball goes out on the side? That's the nice thing about having the neutrals. With the neutral there, whoever played it, and if the neutral can get it successfully, they can cross back in and you can keep that flow going and not have to worry about the ball going out on the sides. So finishing, flying changes, highly recommend. Last but not least, this is the game slice. This is probably one of those ones where it's gonna get a little more technical, it's gonna be a little slower paced, but you can really dial into those specific kinds of situations you might face, very focused on your team. If you watch the video I've done on my coaching philosophy transfer, I talk about game slices and what that can look like in improving transfer. But generally speaking, let's say we have a situation where our wingers are struggling to know when to run, know when to hold. And so we're gonna get rid of our goal. We're going to set up a 3v2. We're gonna use yellow as our ball. Let's say we have our winger out here, we have our outside defender, and we have a central defender. In addition, we have our central attacker, and then maybe our 9. The way this is gonna work is the ball is gonna start with, just like that. Ball is gonna start with the winger, right? For them to start the play, they have to make a pass into this player. This player, immediately upon receiving the ball, has to make a decision. They have a defender on their shoulder, they have a teammate along with the defender here, and we know we're going into this direction. As soon as this player plays the ball, if this player is tight on their shoulder and they cannot turn, what is the best next opportunity? Well, for our winger, they also have a decision to make. They see the close proximity that that defender has. Where's the space? Maybe it's into a cut run, maybe it's right down the line. Either way, ball is played out here. And just like in that finishing session that we looked at before, now our attackers have decisions to make in terms of where they run. Is this player going to make that near post run because that's where the space is, whereupon this player can cross it in and finish? Is this player going to make that back post run, or are they going to stay short? When you have those defenders in play and you can create those game slices, players are going to see more realistic situational cues in the game that are going to dictate their decisions. When we completely remove attackers and we simply play in a this is how it should look format, we don't know how it should look because there are no defenders that are going to give us cues as to what's the best decision. Maybe the best decision is a give and go. Maybe this player plays the ball, and as soon as they do, this player thinks the give and go is coming, completely leaves their mark. Well, now the best decision is not to play it back. The best decision is to turn, drive in, and shoot. So can we turn our finishing sessions into alive movement problems that give our players opportunities to read the cues, make decisions, and have technical outcomes that are relevant to the problems they're going to face in the game? Finishing, chaos in the box, flying changes, game slice. Cheers.